Hey, we are live. This is Lynn, and I am here today with Adam. And Adam is gracious to come on with me tonight because he just got back from a trip and kind of just rolled right in, which is why he doesn't have his typical lighting. But for those of you who don't know Adam, Adam has his own YouTube channel, Carnivore Today, but he is also a very, very key player. And you notice his tag says Healing Humanity, as working very closely with Carrie as the producer, correct, of Healing Humanity, The Power of a
Yep.
Proper Human Diet, the upcoming carnivore diet documentary. Um, so I've been working alongside Adam remotely and Carrie, but Adam has a great story, and I've been on his channel, and I invited him to come on mine, and so that I can introduce my audience, those of you who don't know him, um, to Adam, and so that you can follow him. And his channel is fantastic. I'll show it to you in a few minutes, but I wanted to just welcome Adam and thank you so much for coming on. And wanted you to just share with us, like, what is your health history that brought you into the carnivore diet, and what has it done for you?
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for the introduction, Lynn, and I appreciate you having me on. I'm really excited to be here and share my story. And you are right. I literally like skidded into the driveway and opened the door and rolled into the office.
And ate a ribeye.
Ate a ribeye. Yeah,
Ate a
I came
ribeye.
inside, put the ribeye in the Dreo, and went back outside and unloaded the car. Came back in, ate it, and now I'm here.
So you're properly fueled, which you're going to need.
Absolutely, for sure. Yep. So yeah, uh, my story started with an autoimmune condition, vitiligo, and it doesn't cause me any pain or any issues or anything like that. I basically started my carnivore journey because of it's really just a vanity thing. It
Okay.
doesn't bother me physically, but if it ends up on my face or something like that,
You want to explain
mentally.
what that is for those who aren't familiar with it?
So vitiligo is an autoimmune condition that your cells essentially stop having the ability to produce melanin.
Mm.
So if you see somebody that has white splotches, it's not always vitiligo. It could be something else, but um, so yeah, those white splotches are typically what that is.
And isn't that what Michael Jackson had?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep. Correct.
which
Yeah.
is
And there's
why he
there's
was
actually
always
a
wearing the glove, right?
right. There's
Yeah.
actually a supermodel too that has it as
Yes.
well. That has
Yes.
darker skin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I have
so
seen
my
her.
skin is a little bit darker, so I feared that it may show up on my face or something like that. Not that it's a big deal or it changes who I am, right?
Right.
But it's still like, nobody wants to look at that. So,
Right, and it is a dysfunction of your immune system, which is
right.
never a good thing.
But at the time, I didn't really totally understand that until I started the carnivore diet and started getting into it and interviewing folks, other people that have it, and talking to these doctors as well. That just kind of shed light on the whole subject and how serious it really is, and it's actually essentially a metabolic issue with myself.
Is it a Are there other things that come with it that you may not be quite as obvious, or can it affect other areas of your health in ways that you didn't realize?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
I mean, it could. So I
Yeah.
also have that histamine issue that you helped me so graciously to figure that out as well. And I have heard that people that have a histamine issue sometimes also have, or oftentimes also have autoimmune issues.
Right, right, and one autoimmune issue, often people will have more than one. So, yeah,
Right.
so you said you got into the carnivore diet from vanity. Was it just to lose weight?
It wasn't even to lose weight, to be
Okay.
honest. So coincidentally, at the time, prior to that, 2 years, I went vegan to as a show of solidarity with my business partner and a good friend of mine, and he contracted cancer, and
Mm,
so he went on a vegan protocol because a friend of his 17 years prior had went on this protocol and is still alive. So
mhm.
that was evidence enough for him that hey, my friend's still alive. He did this. I'm going to do this as well. Well, because it's a sacrifice of so much with your diet and eating, essentially when you're on a standard American diet too, I decided, well, I'm going to go on this vegan diet with you as well.
Mm, that was nice.
If
So
you're
it's a
gonna
good
if you're
friend.
gonna have to suffer doing it, then I'll do it too. And I absolutely cannot stand vegetables. And I went like raw vegan stuff. So
Oh, raw even.
yeah, it was gross.
Okay. That was a sacrifice. It's a good
Right.
friend.
So I can't say that I was 100% vegan, but my vitiligo had started maybe 6 years ago. So 4 years of having it, and then I went vegan. Well, as I was vegan, it started to get worse, and it started to show up on my arms.
Oh,
And
interesting.
it was stable before then.
Okay. How were
So
you
at that
eating
point,
prior to going vegan?
standard American diet,
Okay.
garbage.
Garbage. Okay.
Yes.
So you would think that going from garbage to vegan would have been an improvement.
I don't think it was because I
Mhm.
couldn't get enough to eat. Uh,
Mm,
and I didn't like it. It was like
yeah.
my taste buds were rejecting almost every ounce of it. So it wasn't a pleasant experience. Hey, Carnivore Keith, how you doing? So yeah, it was a tough road to hoe. Third world problems or first world problems, whatever you want to
Right.
call
Right.
it. But
Yeah.
so yeah, Thanksgiving of what is this 2022? I decided I'm tired of being fat. I'm going to intermittent fast. So
Okay.
I was vegan and I decided I'm going to intermittent fast at that point. So that just compounded the problem. But I have a pretty strong willpower. So I was able to lose, maybe 12 to 15 pounds or something like that. Hey, Alia. And so 12 to 15 pounds down. And then that's when I noticed that the spots were showing up on my arm.
Okay.
So, yes, I did want to lose weight at the time, but I didn't start the carnivore diet for weight loss because I didn't know that it would even do that. My
Okay.
my desire to have the vitiligo go away was higher than losing
Mm,
weight. So I started
okay.
the carnivore diet and then the weight started really coming off like
Right.
crazy. So,
So
yeah,
what clued you in that the carnivore diet was even an option for your vitiligo? I think it's
I don't know how to pronounce it either.
I know there's a bunch of I's in there.
Right.
Vitiligo, I believe.
There you go. That
Oh,
sounds
okay.
good.
So who turned you on to the carnivore diet for vitiligo?
So I went to YouTube University, typed in vitiligo cure or vitiligo, how to help it, and the first video that popped up was a video of Joe Rogan, and I believe he was talking to Dr.
Okay.
Sean Baker. And
Oh,
what's
cool.
interesting, it was like the JRE clips that he has because he doesn't have the full podcast episodes, but
Right.
it was just a clip that had that in it where he talked about going on the carnivore diet and his vitiligo started to reverse in 30 days. I'm like, that's crazy because everything I read is it basically says that this is you can't reverse this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't even know that Joe Rogan had that condition.
Right. He actually even
So
showed pictures in that video of it
interesting. So that was
filling in
obviously
with
Dr.
color.
Baker's first interview with Joe Rogan.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
because he's
For
done
sure.
2. Okay,
Yep.
interesting.
So at that point, I was like, okay, what in the world is the carnivore diet? Because I'm assuming, I'm gonna have to eat like a lion or something. Like that's a carnivore in my mind, right? Like
Right, right.
so,
Pull
yeah,
go hunt your prey and tear it apart and with your teeth and eat it raw?
exactly. Right. So yeah, so the next search was carnivore diet. What is this? And Dante from Ferrigno Freedom popped up, and it was one of his before videos,
Mm,
and he looked like death warmed over. And the title said something about carnivore diet, but I was curious, so I'm like clicked on it, and I see in that video he says, I don't know, I don't understand what's happening to me. It's incredible.
hmm,
And I thought, this is crazy. So I watched a few more videos and watched the one of the more recent ones, I was like, holy cow, this guy's like starting to get ripped and like he looks like a completely different person.
Yeah.
He transformed completely. So at that point, I'm like, okay, this thing might be legit. I might be able to do this thing. And next video I found was Dr. Barry. Sealed the deal. That was it for me. An MD was like, "Yep, let's
How
do it," and
how
and
often
I'm
do
on.
we hear that? I mean, you interview people all the time. How often do you hear Dr. Barry was the one?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yep, for
So,
sure.
yeah, wow. Okay, so you watch Dr. Barry and it's like, okay, this is it. We got a legit doctor promoting this. And so were you like, I'm all in?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
all in.
So
Rip the
when
Band-Aid
was
off. Let's go.
Yes, yeah. So when was that?
That was February 1st of 2023.
Okay. So just a
So
little before I started. I started it in May of 2023. So you
yep,
are coming up on your carniversary this month.
it actually was last week, and I haven't made a video about it.
Oh, did you say the 21st or the 1st?
February 1st.
Oh, February 1st. I don't know why I heard 21st.
I just
Okay,
say
so
February 1st because I don't remember. It was like the first week of February, somewhere in
yeah.
there. Last
Yeah.
week of January, first week of February. So
So you just had your carniversary.
yep,
Okay. So you just plunged in cold turkey? You didn't
yep.
transition or anything? Okay,
Nope.
so how did you start? Like, what did you start with eating?
Beef,
Like
butter,
what?
bacon, and eggs.
Okay,
Yep.
okay. And so, how did that transition go? Did you experience like keto flu type symptoms? Did you have any problems with transitioning and adapting to
Yeah,
the
I
diet?
did. Yeah, I did. I didn't watch enough Dr. Berry videos before I started.
Mm,
I watched a few and then jumped in. So I'm like, beef, butter, bacon, eggs. Oh, I could do this. This is
yeah,
easy.
yeah.
So yeah, I jumped
Yum.
right in and didn't do the electrolytes.
Mm.
And because I had been eating, to me, trash diet before that, a vegan diet. I mean, that's a horrible diet.
So at that
Eh,
point, were you still on the vegan diet?
yeah, and
Okay,
intermittent
so you
fasting.
went vegan to carnivore
Right,
with nothing in between.
right.
Okay, wow. And
No, I
how
wasn't 100% vegan. I was probably like 90 to
okay.
95%,
And how long had you
but
been
I wasn't
doing
eating
that
meat.
vegan diet?
How long? What?
How long had you been doing the vegan diet?
Almost 2 years.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, so you're bound to have did you go through oxalate dumping and
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
What
Yep.
what was that like for
So
you?
the most pressing thing that happened for me was in the restroom.
Mhm.
That issue, and
Mhm.
that was that was so intense
Okay.
for a few weeks that I thought maybe I can't do this,
Sure.
but I stuck it out, and I am so glad that I did, and everything balanced itself out. But in hindsight, I probably should have eased my way into it for sure, especially in that regard, and then also the oxalate dumping. So that
Right.
started as a rash at the bottom of my back, about roughly about the size of a baseball.
Oh, wow.
It started there, and then it started moving up my back. It traveled up my back,
Okay.
and then it split over my shoulder blades, came up and over the top, came back together in the front, and then went down my stomach.
What?
Yes,
I
insane.
Oh my goodness, have you heard of anybody else having that type of a reaction?
So Sally Norton that wrote her book on oxalates, so she had it really, really bad. It was way worse than that. Hers was like sores
Okay.
and all kinds of stuff.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah,
I
so
just
mine
hadn't
just
hadn't
like
heard of it.
itched intensely, but
Yeah, I hadn't heard of a traveling rash, but
I hadn't
that
either. But it was over the course of like 3 to 4 months.
so were you at as you were going through that, were you questioning whether this was a good idea for you?
No, no,
No.
because well, that was probably happening at the same time, I noticed the vitiligo starting to reverse
Oh,
at
interesting.
about 4.5 to 5 months. So, and I had also heard about Sally Norton and her work.
Okay.
Bought her book, read it, and I was like, well, that might be what this is. I'm not going to go to the doctor to see if that's what it is, but
Yeah.
it's not painful. It just itched. So
So at that point, you had learned about oxalates and that, I never had to deal with oxalates myself with the dumping because I would just I went from the crap processed diet to carnivore. I skipped any of the vegan stuff in between.
right,
But it's interesting to me how many of us learn about oxalates after we start on the carnivore diet.
right,
And it's funny. I had my tilt table test today, and I was talking a little bit. The guy who did my study asked me, "So, do you have any plans for this evening?" And so I told him, "Oh yeah, I'm doing a live stream on my channel." And so he was asking me about what it was all about, and I told him about my carnivore diet and why I was doing it. And I happened to mention through the course of the conversation oxalates, and he was really interested. He's like, "I've never heard of oxalates."
really,
Yeah, it's like
wow,
yeah, and so I was thinking, I wonder with some people if that might be a good inroad to
hmm,
telling people about an alternative way of eating with the carnivore diet, because sometimes it's like, "Oh, I eat carnivore," and people are like, "What?" But if you educate them a little bit about some of the some of the negative things, the anti-nutrients in the vegetables, that kind of perks their radar up.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think it was bad for me because I had bought into the lie, eating the vegan foods that spinach was like, whew, that's way up there.
Oh, yeah,
Spinach
and
and kale
almonds
and
and
all that. Yeah.
yeah.
So I would put almond milk in a smoothie and literally like buckets of spinach, right? And
Oh,
put it in
yeah.
a Vitamix blender that just
Yeah.
pulverized it to a like you couldn't tell that there was any solid matter in there whatsoever. And I'm just guzzling the stuff.
Oh my goodness.
Almost every day.
Okay. So, yeah, so
And spinach is high in oxalates.
you were prime for dumping, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah, because spinach is bad enough as it is, but then the quantity that you dump into those to make those smoothies is just
Right.
insane.
Yeah. It takes like a trash bag full to make a smoothie.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so you ended up, with a lot of time in the bathroom, you ended up with rash. So how long did it take before you felt like you were completely over all of that?
Well, the keto flu lasted a few days, and that
Okay,
wasn't really that bad. And then the restroom thing was probably about at 4 week mark that stopped. And
okay.
the oxalate dumping really didn't start until I think about 2 to 3 months in. It was a while.
Mm,
So yeah, about a month in, things
yeah.
kind of leveled off.
Yeah, I've heard that it can kick in later and it can also last for quite a while. So, interesting. Okay, so
Yep.
that was your adaptation to the carnivore diet. At what point did you start? I know you mentioned that you started to see the vitiligo receding. How
hmm
long did that take?
It was about the 4.5 to 5 month mark, I think,
Okay,
for sure.
okay.
So I
And
think that it may be linked to the histamine issue that I have as well, because histamine causes skin issues that I found with acne and uh, just other things that
yeah.
I don't know. I'm not. Whoa! Look
Thank
at that.
you. Thank you,
Four
Alicia. Not
thousand.
sure not sure whose channel this is on, but we both thank you. Yeah, it's not dollars.
Right. She's always making it rain.
Yes, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got a couple comments. There's also something a few people get briefly called keto rash, very itchy. Don't know if that has
Right.
anything to do with oxalates, upper back and chest. So yeah, so interesting.
Yeah. I don't know.
It'd be interesting to know if it was the oxalates.
Right.
And potentially that might be why some people get it and other people don't.
Right.
It
Well,
might
is
depend
that
on
what the keto rash is?
I don't
It's just
know.
oxalate dumping. I don't
That's
know.
that's a good question, and I think that, yeah, that would be really interesting to try to investigate whether that's what it really is
hmm
oxalate dumping. Interesting. So, okay, so I know that I did watch, your testimony of all the different your health story. You mentioned quite a few other health conditions.
Hmm.
You want to can maybe go a little bit into that and share like how the carnivore diet and how the impact it's had on your other health conditions as well?
Sure. So the most immediate result that I had that was completely unexpected for me was I had plantar fasciitis, coincidentally, the whole time that
Oh
I
yeah,
was eating
been
a
there,
vegan
done
diet.
that. It's
And it
painful.
was intense pain for sure.
Yeah.
Special shoes that were like $250 a pair to just even make a little bit of difference and relief in the pain. I could stand for
Right.
maybe 30 minutes and then have to sit down for 2 hours because of the pain.
Mm.
And yeah, it was very intense. So within 5 days, 3 days in, the pain started to go away. And 5 days in, it went away and it has never come back.
Oh my goodness, 5 days.
5 days.
Okay,
And I lived
so
with it for that long. Like, what's going on?
so basically plantar fasciitis can be completely it's probably diet related.
Absolutely, I believe
It's
it is
inflammatory.
inflammation related. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And I dealt with plantar fasciitis as well. And
Hmm.
I have a plantar fasciitis story that I'll share, which is kind of another weird thing too, because here you got yours cured in like 5 days with changing your diet. I had plantar fasciitis really badly, and I went on a cruise with my sister. This was years ago before I knew about carnivore, but I was concerned about going off on the shore excursions and not
Hmm.
being able to walk because you know how that it
Yeah.
is, right?
Oh yeah.
And I happened to find out that on board the ship was an acupuncturist. And
Huh.
so I went to the acupuncturist and asked, "Is there anything you can do for my plantar fasciitis?" And he says, "Yeah." And we had one day out to sea and then our first shore excursion. And so he said, "Come, we'll do 2 sessions, like 1 session today, 2 sessions tomorrow." And by the end of this, like the second session, I was walking with minimal pain. By the time the third session came, I was like no pain and was able to go on my shore excursions without any
Wow,
problems. So it's
that's awesome.
yeah, so it's like the way the body works with the inflammation, even like something with plantar fasciitis is just fascinating.
Hmm.
I've never heard of it just going away like that with a change in diet.
Yeah, I
That's
had neither. Basically, all the research that I did on it, it says that those tendons are where the connection points to the foot. They're inflamed. I mean,
right.
I knew it was inflammation, but
Yeah.
there's all kinds of various reasons that they say that it could be that you injured it or standing on
Right.
your foot wrong or for prolonged periods and just agitated it or whatever. Never in a million years that I have ever thought that it was maybe diet related.
I would not have either. I mean, you're the first person I've heard that has shared that story about healing that particular condition. I'm pretty blown away as somebody who dealt with plantar fasciitis for years. I mean, and I had the same thing. I got the custom orthotics and, expensive shoes and wow, that's crazy. So, okay.
Yeah.
So, wow. So vitiligo is receding, plantar fasciitis is gone. And obviously
Hmm.
because of decreased inflammation, did you have any other things that were being helped by the carnivore diet?
Uh, Depression and anxiety also improved.
Okay.
No more anxiety whatsoever. Anxiety was probably worse than the depression. I
Okay.
wasn't clinically diagnosed with either one. There is no way on God's green earth you were ever going to get me to go into a psychiatrist
Hmm.
and talk about anything related to issues like that because I didn't want that stigma. If
Yeah.
there's a diagnosis that you have some sort of an issue, I didn't want that. I was too much of a man, right?
Yeah.
So I'm not
Yeah.
going to go in there and deal with that. So
Yeah, and of
that
course,
was
and I ended up doing it because I had the same issue with the anxiety, and I ended up in a psychiatric hospital, but I was in my mind, I was dead if I didn't go. So,
right,
so
right,
it was yeah, all my pride was set aside.
for
But
sure.
yeah, okay, so you dealt with things. How many years did you deal with the anxiety?
A- Anxiety was basically my entire life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
so it was, I would avoid situations all the time. I would make up excuses to get out of
Mm,
situations.
okay.
Um, Not as bad as what Kerry talked about his was, where he said that he would, you know, crash a car into a ditch or a tree just to have an excuse of why he wouldn't be able to make a meeting. So
Yeah,
it
that's
wasn't that
pretty
bad, but
extreme.
yeah, I would do
Hi, Susie.
whatever I could to get out of that stuff and not talk to people.
So
So
it was a social anxiety. Was it kind of like an agoraphobia or just more people to people interaction? Like
probably a little all of it.
agoraphobia is like you're just afraid to go outside your house.
No, 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 it wasn't that.
No.
Yeah, I love to go outside the house. I just didn't want to interact with people. I was just anxious about the communication with other people and
Okay.
interaction. So
So how long after you started the carnivore diet did you notice improvements in that area?
that one I don't remember exactly. Um, it just kind of was like, man, I'm not really anxious anymore. Like I can
Yeah.
reach out to people now, and I seem like I'm happier than what I was before, and I just have like this sense of joy and desire to live. Whereas before it was like we're just checking off days, until we end up 6 feet under.
Well, and then you start a YouTube channel. So obviously,
Yeah.
yeah. I want to pull up this comment because I want to understand it. So Desiree says, please, I'm so confused. I tried more vegetables, but my stomach is in pain. Is this going to be okay? Could you just give us a little more context to that, Desiree? Because
Hmm.
we're carnivores, so we don't eat any vegetables. So if you can maybe give us a little more context um, to what's going on, I'd love to try to answer that and at least do my best to answer it. Maybe, Adam and I can kind of put our heads together. Um, are you eating a vegetarian diet? So let us know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that would be
I'll
the same
keep an
questions I would
eye
have.
out. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for the response, and we will do our best to try to answer your question. If you're eating a vegetarian diet and your stomach is in pain, it probably is because of the vegetables. I just had a lady from my church, a young woman from my church that was having a lot of issues with her gut, and I talked to her a couple weeks ago and encourage her to watch my channel, send her a whole bunch of the doctor's videos, but she was having a lot of gut issues.
Hmm.
And she did a trial on the carnivore diet for 5 days and her gut issues completely resolved. And
Awesome.
yeah, so she said she's going to transition into it by the end of the month. And she has, get rid of some of the food in her house. She's a single mom, so she can't just afford to waste the food. But
Hmm.
yeah. So okay, so let me see. So Desiree, I'm afraid of the fat. No, I'm not eating a vegetarian diet, but so many want you to add fiber. Um, yeah, so we don't need any fiber at all.
No,
And
I haven't
honestly,
had fiber in a year.
yeah, and I haven't had fiber in 8 months. The fat, a lot of people are afraid of the fat because they're afraid of cholesterol. And if you really look into, and I mean, my book club's right now going over Dr. Barry's book, Lies, Your Lies, my doctor told, or your lies your doctor tells you, or forget exactly the title. Lies my doctor told me. He does have a chapter in there about cholesterol, and the all of the supposed data on how bad cholesterol is for you, like the LDL going up, is not exactly accurate data. There are subsets of LDL cholesterol, and your doctor will not test you for that. They'll just say, oh, look, your LDL's going up. Let's put you on a statin. But there are subsets of LDL cholesterol, and there are dense particles, and those are the ones that are unhealthy for you. And then there's bigger, fluffy particles that don't clog your arteries. And when people are on the carnivore diet, it tends to be those big, fluffy, healthy particles that go up and they cause your LDL to go up. Not everybody does, but LDL to go up, which will then raise your total cholesterol. But typically, like what I don't know if you may want to share what happened to you with your cholesterol, but with me, my LDL went up a little bit, but my Triglycerides went way down, and they're beautiful. My HDL went up. And the triglyceride to HDL ratio is really what's a good indicator of how healthy you are as far as your heart goes. Higher LDL is also associated with longevity. Dr. Berry mentioned a study in his book about how when there was an actual study where they looked at all-cause mortality and compared it with people on a statin, or with lower LDL versus people with higher LDL. And of course, correlation does not mean causation, but there was a definite correlation between higher cholesterol levels and people living longer and having less Alzheimer's. Is very good for your brain. Our bodies need cholesterol. Most of the cholesterol in our bodies are produced by our bodies, and we have receptors for our cholesterol everywhere. Our brain needs it, our has receptors, our heart has receptors, so we need that cholesterol. So anyways, that's a weighty topic, but subscribe. If you're not subscribed to me or Adam, subscribe. We can continue the conversation. I'd love to be able to help you watch the videos, follow the doctors. They have videos that discuss this. I don't want you to be afraid to try this because of fat. Anything
Yeah,
you
for
want to add?
sure. Yeah, that was great. So what I would add is I'm 47 and I literally feel like I'm in my early 20s and I
Hmm.
eat as much fat as I possibly can.
Yeah,
I'm definitely not afraid of fat. I eat fried fat. Uh,
I do too.
so yeah, it makes me feel like a superhero. So
Yeah,
fat
I
is
think
essential for us to have. That cholesterol,
yes,
as you were referring to, is absolutely essential. Our brain is essentially made of cholesterol, and fat is a brain food. So it's especially important,
yeah,
both in males and females. But the more I talk to females, it seems like fat is even more important for a female. So because
absolutely.
the estrogen in their body has to be converted from testosterone, and cholesterol helps with that conversion. So
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. And I know that ever since the low fat, no fat craze started back in the 80s and late 70s and 80s, our health has gotten worse and worse. And the more and more people on statins, more and more Alzheimer's. Unfortunately, my mom passed away from Alzheimer's back in
Mhm.
2018. I wish I had known all this long ago.
Oh,
But,
wow.
yeah, and then getting fat adapted is probably a little big of a challenge for people who aren't used to eating fat. So if you wanna try it, I would say gradually increase the fat because,
Mhm.
you go crazy. You can't just go crazy if you're not used to eating it. Your body has to get adapted to eating it.
For
So,
sure.
anyways, yeah, keep communicating with us, Desiree, and, hopefully we can answer questions, and, it is a very healing way to eat. And, let me just see here. So Susan says, on carnivore, I have much less gut pain than when I ate a plant forward diet. Eating fiber used to feel like pine cones in my gut. Yeah, I
Mhm.
hear that a lot. And I mean, I have my background is in a gastroenterology, and they push fiber and keep your bowels moving. Now, one thing, carnivores don't poop as much. And our poops are
Right?
small. Our poops are smaller because our body is utilizing the food that we eat, and we don't have nearly as much waste. And
Yeah.
as long as you're not bloated and, that's not a problem.
It's just
So,
crazy to me that the whole, narrative around fiber that, to bulk up your stool and to keep things moving, and it's like, I if it doesn't move as much or it isn't as big, like, is that a problem?
well, it's an
You know what I'm saying?
area that I don't think has really been studied, and I don't know that it's going to be studied unless a bunch of carnivores get together and study it and, put ourselves out there to study it. There's no financial incentive to studying that.
Right.
You're
Yeah.
not going,
I think they
yeah,
tell you that just to move out the garbage products that they sell everybody.
Oh,
keep
yeah.
it moving, keep that stuff moving through you so that you have to buy more of it.
Well, and
I don't know. It's just
you gotta
strange.
sell fiber supplements, right? I mean, I can't
Right.
tell you how many of our GI patients were on fiber supplements. And, if you can't get enough of the vegetables and the fruit and all of that, then you add a fiber supplement. And I've, a lot of the carnivores have found that the keys with keeping your bowels fairly regular with carnivore is drinking enough water and getting your electrolytes and having sufficient amount of fat. I don't know if that's what you've
Absolutely.
experienced.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I can tell if I need to increase my fat intake or
Mhm.
decrease it. Yeah, there's
Yeah.
a nice sweet spot, and then everything's fine.
Yeah. So carnivore mommy says I feel so much better, no fiber. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had bloating constantly before I was on the carnivore diet. And within the first week, probably a few days of starting carnivore, my bloating was gone. And I had that beautiful empty feeling that
Right.
I love. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the bloating from plant foods was so bad. Grains and beans were the worst. I just blamed dairy, but it was the plant stuff. Right. Right.
True.
Yeah. Yeah. So, get it. There's so many resources out there for us in the carnivore community. A lot of these doctors, there's books, there's all sorts of information out there. And Dr. Fung's book, Jason Fung's book, I think goes into fiber, the obesity code,
Hmm.
goes a lot into fiber. And actually, he talks a lot about clinical studies and the bad studies and then the good studies. So if you're really sciencey based, and you want to learn a little bit more about that, then that's a good book to use. So, okay. So, yeah. Okay. So how did you decide, okay, going from having social anxiety, go to let's start a YouTube channel?
So, because the health benefits that I've received were so profound, I feel like I unlocked the fountain of youth, or
Mm,
like I got the cheat code for life. It was so incredible to me that literally you eat from this section of the grocery and not this section of the grocery, and you can optimize your health. It just blew
right.
my mind, and because of that revelation, I have to share it with everybody that I possibly can.
That's amazing.
So, yeah, there was no questions about it. It's a responsibility for me now, which is another reason why
Mhm.
I joined forces with Carrie with the documentary, and it's an absolute responsibility to share this message with as many people as we
Right.
possibly can.
Yeah. I feel the same. So how did you get connected with Carrie?
I watched his 30-day video, and
Okay.
watched a couple more videos after that, and it wasn't, I think it was maybe 30 days after that, he said that he was going to, he said, there should be a carnivore diet documentary. There's not
Okay.
there's not one where they just like follow people, and people can see the results and follow along with them, and that sort of thing, but do it in more of a movie style instead of so much of a documentary style where it's all facts and figures.
Right.
Boring. There's no emotion in it, and
Right.
I was like, that is absolutely genius. That is exactly what needs to happen to get people pumped up about, reviving their life and their health, and not only physically but mentally and spiritually. It's just, I so at that point I sent him an email. I'm like, there's no way this guy's going to answer me. He's got thousands of subscribers, and I said, man, whatever you got to do, or whatever you need me to do, I'll sweep the floors if you need me to. It doesn't matter. I'm a
Yeah.
business owner, but I know the value of a good employee. So if you need help, I'm here for you. And that was it. So
So you guys just got done interviewing Dr. Barry. So that's awesome.
yes,
So you've made so many connections now with these carnivore docs. How has that impacted you?
wow. So we met with Dr. Hampton and Dr. Barry now in person to film them and interview them, and these guys are the legit real deal. So it has only emboldened me even farther to
Mhm.
know that, we have this caliber of individuals behind this movement. And I like to equate this movement to the rising sun. You know, it's
Mhm.
coming regardless. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter how much shade they want to put up. They're not going to blot out the sun. So it's coming.
I love
And
that.
yeah, it's just so incredible to experience these things. I'm very appreciative of the donors that we've had, so that we can experience these things. That's not what it's about, but
Right. Right. But
but
we do
we're,
it is we're proceeding based on right now people's donations to be able to get out there and start interviewing people. And so yeah, I know my husband and I on the way back from I had the University of Washington is where I had my study today. And on the way back, we were talking about the documentary, because I've been
hmm
working on it too, and
yep,
behind the scenes. And and of course, my background is in healthcare, as a retired nurse. And, of course, I think that the last few years, I'm noticing that after the last few years and all the craziness and stuff with healthcare, I feel like there's a lot of people who are maybe not trusting clinical trials as much. And because I guess we were talking about like using all these anecdotal stories from people. And I feel like the timing is perfect for this because I think people are more open now to hearing other people's testimonies and saying, okay, I think I'm going to trust what someone has shared that they experience in their life and have less trust of what all these scientists and our government agencies are telling us because
absolutely,
clinical trials the data can be manipulated, you know
absolutely.
and very few people know how to even read these clinical trials. And
Absolutely. Yeah, Dr. Georgia Ede points that out perfectly in her book. If people don't have that book yet, I suggest that you go to Amazon and buy it right now. It's a fabulous, fabulous book, and she put a lot of time and effort into that. I believe it was 10 years, and I think she has 140 pages of references.
yeah,
Um, so it's rock solid. But to
it's a
your
little bit
point
of an
about
intimidating size, but don't be intimidated
right,
by it. I
right,
bought it. Yeah, I'm reading it. But a lot of it not only is the references, but then there's a lot of like meal plans.
yes,
There's quite a section of meal plans as well.
yeah. It's a very complete book. It's a wonderful work of. It's just for the carnivore community, that's definitely a go-to book to have for sure. But in terms of the clinical trial, she lays out very well how these things are basically a farce, and especially the epidemiological studies are garbage. Can't be relied upon. And interestingly enough, Dr. Berryfinger, during his interview, he kind of taught. I'll give you a little preview of what he said, and this may or may not be in any of the footage that we
Yeah,
use, but he essentially said, "We don't need a clinical trial to tell us that bad air is not good for us and good air is good for us. We don't need a clinical
right.
trial telling us that bad water or dirty water is not good for us and clean water is good for us."
Our bodies will tell us.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. So
But I think too that and one of the things I'm hoping that we can really convey, through the documentary too, is that you've got to step away from what we've been told because I think a lot of people have been told how to eat and that you need to have, all these servings of greens and all these servings of fruits and vegetables. And so then they don't feel good. Like your
mhm,
gut is bloated and you're uncomfortable and you've got cramps and sometimes people will have all sorts of like other issues, joint pain, rashes, brain fog. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And because we've been told that this way to eat is healthy, I don't think many people, their mind doesn't even go there,
right.
you know? it's either like, well, this is just part of aging. I've got less joint pain because I'm getting older or because I'm too sedentary. You know, I didn't exercise for
Yeah.
months
Yeah.
after I started the
Yeah.
carnivore diet, and my inflammation was almost gone within the first week.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think
So,
that's in part the brain fog from the seed oils and the inflammation is so
yeah.
bad that they can't think straight, and not, even question why are they saying as a blanket statement for all of society to eat this way, right?
Mhm.
And then yeah, so it just the conditioning that they received in school as well. That there's always an authority figure, somebody that you have to defer,
Right,
right and wrong to. You
right,
you don't determine right and wrong. Someone else will do that for you. So that
right,
conditioning for 13 years uh, takes a toll on you. So
right, and we've been told to trust the experts,
right,
but who is a better expert in your body than you? And,
absolutely,
like, I eat this and then I don't feel good.
right,
You know? But it's not always that obvious because a lot of times it's very subtle and it can take time before you start to
hmm
build up, like with the oxalates.
right,
If you look at Sally K. Norton's book and you see the list of all the different physical manifestations of oxalate overload, it's enormous. And
absolutely,
yeah, and to actually kind of think, well, okay, wait a minute, maybe it's my diet that's making me age prematurely, come down with these different chronic diseases.
hmm
Sometimes it's a little bit of a chasm for people to cross, I think. But
absolutely.
so I really hope that with this documentary, we'll be able to help people at least consider questioning.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know,
If we can achieve that, that's one of the top priorities that we have, to question everything. And
yeah,
to clarify on the school thing, I'm not saying that schooling is bad and things like that, but the conditioning, it doesn't even have to be purposeful. It just happens
it
over that
happens.
amount of time. It's so I'm not trying to paint teachers or
No, and
the structure in place or anything like that. It's just a byproduct of that situation that everybody's in.
oh, yeah, absolutely, and I mean, and I went through nursing school, so I know what's being taught, and doctors go through medical school, and we don't have time to dig in and research every little thing we're taught and make sure that it's actually accurate. You just trust that it is, and
Right.
so we have an unbelievable opportunity to give people an alternative way of thinking about the diet and our chronic illnesses in this, all over the world, not just the US. We just happen to
hmm
be one of the unhealthiest countries out there.
right.
Yeah. So Jill says, as a respiratory therapist, I am floored by all the misinformation I've been given all my life. I feel like I'm living in an alternate universe. I just wonder how deep the lie goes. Yeah, I've wondered that myself as well. And I think that
hmm
that's another reason why I feel like this is a really good time to bring out this documentary, is because I think there's more and more people starting to question, you know, how much have we really been lied to over the years because there's a industry that wants needs to make money,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think the past what 3-4 years or whatever, the big event that happened here recently with the health for the entire world
Mhm.
caused a lot of people to start questioning things. No matter what side of the fence you're on, people had questions. So
Yeah, and I think that I'm more and more as time goes on, I am hearing more and more people questioning. I think initially that wasn't the case. It was like,
right,
"Oh my gosh, what's going on? We're all afraid. Just tell us what to do."
right.
And yeah, but over time, I see way more and more people looking back, going, "Yeah, I think we need to start questioning what we were told." But
hmm
yeah, and so that does it makes you once you start, it's like it's a rabbit hole you can go down, Jill. Once
for sure.
Because seriously, once you realize that, some things you've been told are not accurate, it's the normal thing is to say, "What else?" Yeah. So Jill
Absolutely.
says they put sugar in baby formula. I also see it in dry oatmeal. Why? I'm so
What?
confused.
Wow.
Because it's addictive. I
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can think of is that it gets babies early hooked on the
Yeah.
products.
Yeah.
Did
Hey, don't buy those Fruit Loops over here. Buy our oatmeal over here. It's just as sweet.
It's just a sweet. Exactly. Have you ever compared the, sugar content of some of the healthy types of cereals versus the kids' cereals?
Hmm.
Some of them have even more sugar in them.
Right.
Now, did you have issues with, sugar addiction?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So it took
Mhm.
probably 3 weeks or so to break that addiction. But
Okay.
once I was a little bit more fat adapted, I really haven't had any cravings for sugar whatsoever.
Okay. Okay, that's good. It's about the same with me.
Yep,
Let's talk
for
just a
sure.
little bit about histamine because, yeah, you and I have a lot of behind the scenes communication about histamine, and I know that it was kind of funny because it was on when you were interviewing me, we started talking about histamine,
Hmm.
and a kind of a light bulb went on. Like,
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the problem. So
Yep.
what have you learned about the histamine and, how it impacts how you're approaching your diet?
Well, since I have implemented low histamine foods, thank God for your video on that.
Thank you.
um, yeah, I have not had any nausea since. So,
That's amazing.
which is
That's
incredible. And literally for almost an entire year on this carnivore diet, I thought, well, my body's not fat adapted yet. Maybe I'm eating
right.
too much fat, and that's what's making me sick because I'm not producing enough bile to digest it, and that's what's making my stomach upset. And no, that wasn't the case. It was the
Yeah,
histamine.
and not that too much fat can't produce nausea
Right,
it can, but it should be early on. It should if it's gonna
right,
happen, it's typically gonna be early on as you're getting it should not be still a year later.
right. And because I was eating, basically a vegan diet prior to that, I thought, well, my body is just taking a lot longer to ramp up bioproduction, even months and months and months in. I thought, well, this might be a long process. And I'm just
Mhm.
going to stick it out because all this other
Yeah,
stuff is healed and I feel fantastic. I'll deal with some nausea, So, but now I
yeah.
know if I hadn't have gone carnivore, so I had this problem for years and years and years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so if let's say, when I was 40, I would eat barbecue or something, right?
Mhm.
Red meat, I would get nauseous and I could never figure out why. I just assumed I'm getting older now. I'm getting towards middle aged. And that what they say about red meat, it causes all these issues and problems. So I literally started to shy away from eating red meat at that point.
Mm.
And yeah, so and fried chicken always tastes good too.
Oh,
in the
yeah.
in the seed oils, not now, but but yeah, anyways, I knew that I had an issue back then with nausea with eating that was at the time smoked meats. So now I know that the smoked meats are high in histamine, and that was likely the culprit then. But if I hadn't have started the carnivore diet and started doing all this elimination of everything else, and really listening to my body and what it's trying to tell me, I would have never figured that out.
Right, right. So Jill asked which foods have histamines? Cheese? It it depends. Now it's watch my video because I go into a lot of detail on that, but it's specifically addressing histamine intolerance, and histamine issues for carnivores.
Hmm.
Because there are non-carnivore foods that have histamines, but, just to kind of a quick answer to that, there's a lot of things because meats when it comes to meats, aged smoked meats, but it can also have to do with the freshness of the meat, depending on how sensitive you are. So a lot of people can't handle leftovers, like, the longer a meat sits, the more histamine it naturally produces. Cheeses, same thing. Aged cheeses, smoked cheeses, egg whites are high in histamine, whereas egg yolks are fine, unless it's a quail
Hmm.
egg. Quail egg, the whole egg is okay. I just
Right.
don't know where to get them. There's a
Bacon.
lot of there's a lot of other things too but watch my video if you want to get kind of a rundown and a good resource, a good, really thorough list. Um, and it's on my channel. So that's probably, instead of taking an hour to explain, that's probably the best thing to do.
Right, for sure. Yeah, just watch the video. It's awesome.
Yeah, but I'm glad that you figured out that you have a histamine issue. And I think that, eh, you know, I would not want a lot of people to say, no, this carnivore diet is not working. And it turns out that, you just have to tweak it,
Hmm.
which is what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, and like you explained in your video, histamine, you have a bucket, right? So I was always experiencing the bucket overflowing
Right.
and too much histamine, and then was having nausea and symptoms and stuff, and I believe that it also was reflected in my skin too.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah. And there's
yeah,
tons of
so
histamine receptors in your gut. I mean, you've got histamine receptors all over the place, but there's tons of histamine receptors in your gut. And, it was a big issue for me too. I mean, when I shown the pictures of my before with my rosacea, I would look like a leper.
mhm,
Um, but I can tell when I have something that's too high in histamine in my gut still. I have to be careful. And a lot of people with autoimmune diseases, or like myself with an immune system disease, we have to just ongoing stick to the low histamine foods. Um,
mhm,
but yeah, I every once in a while I test something out because I do feel like my histamine bucket has drained, and then you can maybe
that's
tolerate
awesome.
a little bit, but you have to be really careful. So Aaliyah says, if I eat too much pork belly, I will feel sick even today. So pork tends,
Yeah.
depending on how fresh it is, if it's really fresh, hopefully it won't cause a problem. But depending on how fresh it is, that's the thing with meat. The longer it sits, the more histamine it naturally produces. And fish is usually kind of needs to be really fresh. Like, not
Mhm,
like you go to the grocery store behind the counter where it's on ice. That's not even fresh enough if you're really sensitive.
right.
We have a
And I don't
question.
eat fish myself just because, I don't really like the taste of it. It just tastes like I've gone
Mm,
fishing a lot,
okay.
and you can smell like fish washed up on the bank and stuff like that. That smell, that's what fish tastes like to me. So it has to be battered or dunked in a ton of tartar sauce or something like that. So if I can't have those two things with it, I just don't even eat it.
You're just not. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
So Susan has a question. Can turkey give someone histamine problems? The last time I had turkey wings, I had awful indigestion. They were plain, no seasoning, but they were on sale. So they might have not been very fresh. That would be my
Right.
guess, is that they were probably sitting too long. And because if you have issues, and I mean, not that, I mean, I'm sure there's people who don't really have major histamine issues that still might have an issue with some. And it might have been that it was just old and wasn't exactly the greatest. It may not have been a histamine issue, but
Hmm.
people who really have histamine issues, you really should go from as fresh as possible and get it in the freezer. And some people even have to freeze their leftovers. Like, after you cook, you can't just stick the leftovers in the fridge. Some people have to freeze their leftovers right away.
Hmm.
I'm not that sensitive. I'm very happy. I
Right.
Yeah, so what have you learned now about what you can and cannot eat from a histamine standpoint?
So essentially, first of all, I stopped eating egg whites, and that seemed to make an improvement when I ate breakfast. And
That's good.
um, I no longer aged my steaks in the fridge, and that made a difference. I stopped eating smoked meats. The smoked meats caused nausea every single time that I ate them,
Mhm.
so I stopped eating those. But today is day 9 now of the lion diet, so I'm literally just eating beef, salt, and water,
Okay.
and I've stopped um, coffee as well.
Okay.
So Maggie up in
How's
Canada got me hooked on coffee. literally the 65-year carnivore.
So you
You
didn't drink coffee until
I had
Maggie?
kicked the habit like I did before because I was years, like decades of Diet Pepsi. And I thought, well, I need to kick this habit because this is just a chemical soup, right? And so I'm going to go to coffee because it is a little more natural, right? And it has caffeine in it. So instead of eating a synthetic chemical, I'm drinking coffee. And so did that for a while. And then I kicked the habit, and literally, because we were working so much up there at Maggie's, and she was literally running us into the ground, working circles around us at
And
82.
she
It
is
was crazy.
82.
Yes, it was crazy. And she said that she started drinking coffee because she never been addicted to anything, and she wanted to see what it felt like.
Oh,
So she
that's
started drinking coffee,
hilarious.
and she was literally like fiending over, "Oh, give me that coffee." And she's like, "Oh, Adam, you want some coffee?" And I was like, in a moment of weakness, I'm like, "Sure."
Yeah.
That got me hooked again for months. So
So how's it
yeah,
been
now
now since you're off the coffee and everything else, and you've just been doing the beef and salt and
oh,
water?
fantastic, fantastic.
Okay.
I feel like $1,000,000 at this
Yeah.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised because you have autoimmune issues, and that's
Hmm.
really common. Now, did you try, like, adding lamb?
No, I
Or
don't
even
like
try
lamb.
you don't like lamb? Yeah.
Nope.
When I did the lion diet, I did beef and lamb and salt. And,
Right.
yeah, I noticed a big difference, and again, not everybody has to do that,
Right.
but
Yep.
know that it's something you may need to do if you think you have histamine issues or if you have an autoimmune disease, an immune system disease. It might be that you just have to get stricter,
Hmm.
and then you're gonna feel great.
Absolutely. And I'm lucky in the regard that I don't view food as a pleasure experience.
Yeah,
Maybe in the past I would, but now my mind is so clear. It's literally just something that has to be done to fuel the cells of my body. I don't really gain any pleasure for it or
right,
from it. I just know that I need it to nourish my cells and regenerate and make new cells. And that's
right.
literally all I'm doing. I'm just refueling my body. And not to say that a ribeye doesn't taste phenomenal, it
Right.
does. But I'm not eating for pleasure. I'm eating for
Yeah.
sustenance. So
Yeah,
I can
no,
eat
I
the
agree.
same thing over and over and over again.
I've had to do the same, and I know that there's people who that's an issue for, but I feel like people that have really more severe chronic illnesses, it's a little easier for us to take that
Right.
approach because we literally feel horrible if we
Right.
deviate. That's
But I will say this to qualify my to back this up, that I can eat literally the same thing every single day and I don't care. So when I was in the tool and die industry, and I was a controls assembler for 10 years, they had this truck that would come up in the morning for breakfast called the Roach Coach.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so off of the Roach Coach, I would have a slice of pizza and a chocolate milk every single morning for 10 years.
Oh my goodness. That's
I
horrible.
could eat the same thing all the time, every single day. It doesn't matter.
I've got another super chat from Aaliyah, and I don't know how to pull it in, so I'm just gonna read it.
Oh,
So, thank you, Leah. She says, "What changes can you tell from drinking coffee to not coffee, like your body, mind, etc.?"
so essentially, yeah, the addiction to caffeine is the major thing. But
Okay,
also, I think it's because caffeine is what is it, a neurotoxin? It's neurological
it's
in its effect,
neurological. Yeah. Well,
and
I
and
know
that's
that
an issue I think with somebody like myself with an
yeah,
autoimmune condition.
and it does act on the nervous system because it is a gut stimulant. I mean,
Right.
it can help if you're constipated, it can help move things along, and that's because it works on your nervous system. Let's see. I think we've got a couple
Absolutely.
more comments. Let's see, or questions. I'm kind of losing track here. Da, da, da. We had a lot of comments and questions.
Cool.
Let me make sure I get caught up in. So, Leah, interesting to know. Oh, that's about the histamine. I was also thinking it was so much fat that was making me ill, but good to know on the histamine. Yeah, it might be. Test it out.
Yeah.
Watch my video and then test it out. And hopefully you'll get an answer. And if it's not a histamine issue, then you testing it out won't resolve the problem. But like Adam, it did.
Right.
Yeah.
So an interesting thing, Alia. So on your list, Lynn, it said innards is higher in histamine. So I know Alia eats organ meats and stuff.
Yeah. And I
So
haven't figured out for sure if it's the difference between whether it's the organ meats or if it's like I think it is organ meats are higher histamine because it lists entrails separate from it says entrails and innards. And I wish the
right,
list defined
right,
what innards means.
right.
I just assumed it meant organs. Um, but
Entrails to me means intestinal
intestines,
tract. Yeah.
right. Which you need to be really careful with because a lot of like even if you get like a really clean sausage, if you have histamine issues, the casing is
Hmm.
entrails. And so
Right.
you have to be very careful and you know, but again, the histamine bucket is a big component of it. Sometimes you can handle a little bit if your histamine bucket is drained. And I go into in my video all about the histamine bucket and what that's all about. So Susan says,
Absolutely.
sometimes my face and scalp will itch after I drink coffee. Now I'm wondering if it could be histamine. Hard to say because I don't know that coffee, I don't think coffee is high histamine, but coffee
I
can
don't
have
think so.
mold spores in
Yeah.
it. And so, and I know that if you have a histamine issue, and mold can be an activator and it does activate mast cells, which can release histamine.
Hmm.
And so I'm wondering possibly if it's the quality of the coffee. I use when I do drink coffee, I drink the Bulletproof brand, and there are some other brands too that test and quality test for mold to make sure they're really
Hmm.
clean. I don't have any problems with the Bulletproof brand coffee, but I just kind of my thoughts there that it may be the quality of the coffee as opposed to the coffee itself. Because if you're
Right.
reacting to something in the coffee, your mast cells will release histamine to respond to that, as opposed to the histamine coming directly from the coffee itself. So,
Yep.
okay. So, Leah, fresh fish direct from the ocean is the best. Yes, it tastes like buttery goodness. However, everything else sucks. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fresh fish. I had a coworker that was from Hong Kong, and she said that all growing up, they used to buy super fresh fish at the fish market down right there on the water, and they would just eat it raw because it was so good.
Hmm.
So Deb says, I don't eat poultry as I feel sick every time I eat them. I had that same issue. Was it Todd that mentioned? Oh, here's that super chat from Aaliyah. No wonder I couldn't reach it. It was way down there. Was it Todd that mentioned? I think I heard him mention that a lot of the chicken is a hybrid between two varieties that naturally would not breed together. And they make them breed and then they produce like to produce bigger breasts
Hmm.
and larger chickens. I kind of wonder. And he said that he must have read this somewhere. So don't quote me. I'm just saying what I
Right.
hearsay. Um, but I remember him saying that heirloom chicken tends to be better if you have issues
Hmm.
with chicken. And I did too. Like I would eat chicken and sometimes I'd eat it and my throat would swell, which was a mast cell reaction. Um, but if you're getting sick like to your stomach, it could still be a histamine issue too, because you got tons of histamine receptors in your gut. So maybe it's the type of poultry. I mean, I would say maybe test it out with heirloom chicken and see if you have the same issue. I just avoid chicken
Hmm.
altogether.
I do too. It tastes like cardboard.
Yeah. Well, even when I did eat chicken, I was eating dark meat because I didn't like
Yeah.
the white meat. So fish tastes
Hmm.
like fish.
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't like fish, that's
Smells
not
like
a
it
good
too.
I well, I know fresh fish is you're not supposed to be able to smell the fishy smell if it's fresh.
I don't know.
So
I go bass fishing a lot, and
yeah, and it
yeah,
still smells.
they smell like fish when you pull them out of the water. So I don't know.
Oh, hey, Jude. On the subject of quail eggs, our local Mexican market carries them regularly in tiny little cartons. Okay, cool. And I think Jude lives near me.
That's
So
awesome.
maybe give me some specifics on where that is because I would love to be able to get some quail eggs because I do like eggs a lot. So, all right, Jill, I heard coffee fields are the highest in pesticides. Yes, pesticide spray. Absolutely. I love organ meats. It's one of the easiest things for me to digest. I feel very good with organ meats. I don't eat
That's good.
intestines. Yeah, yeah. I mean, organ meats are super healthy. So you got some uh capsules, correct?
Yes, grass-fed beef liver capsules. Yep. Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not gonna eat liver. There's no way.
Yeah, I tried the liver too, and I know Carnivore's grandma has a recipe, Robin, on her site,
Yep.
and she makes it look really good, and she acts very excited about eating it, and this is delicious, and I'm just going, she makes me wanna try it, and I haven't acquired a
No
taste for
thanks.
it. It's like when someone makes something look really good,
Right.
you wanna try it, and who knows? I may.
Mhm.
Alright, so depending on the coffee and how fresh it is, yeah, exactly, it can have mold. It can get coffee direct from nice, I think the coffee is way different than in the US. I wouldn't be surprised. I've heard that about a lot of ingredients in the
Mhm.
US versus other countries.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
Here's
Cool.
another one for you, Lynn, that I forgot. Um, so this is another unexpected benefit that happened to me. I had a traumatic brain injury in 2017,
Okay.
and yeah, so I at the time I got in a huge car crash, and essentially said I'd lost 10% of my brain function, and that it
Mm.
would never come back. It may come back, but you know how they talk to you.
Right.
Oh, it's
Well, they wanna give you the worst
it
case
could,
scenario
but
so you'll be
yeah,
prepared
right,
and yeah.
right, exactly. So after that, I had huge balance issues.
Mm.
I couldn't stand up and close my eyes. If I closed my eyes standing up, I would fall over.
Mm.
Um, if when I was laying down at night, if I closed my eyes, I would go into like a vertigo state, and the whole room would spin.
Oh, that's horrible.
So the light would have to be on so that I could see some semblance of a horizon or something to fixate or focus on. Um, my brain would get overloaded after 30 minutes to an hour and
Oh,
would
wow.
shut down and have massive headache, and I couldn't do anything until I slept it off.
Wow.
I would have motor tics where once my brain did get overloaded, my head would twitch and jerk like somebody with Tourette's.
Mm.
And yeah, I went years, at least 2 years of physical therapy to try to regain balance and things like that. So that gradually did improve through the
Okay.
physical therapy. And I'm wondering, was it the therapy or was it, just time helped to heal some of those things? But
Right.
when I had started the carnivore diet, I still had some of the motor tic issues. I still had some of the the exhaustion with my brain. So,
Okay.
if I worked for 6 hours or whatever it was, that was it. That was my limit. I could
Okay.
not literally concentrate anymore after that. So, and this is another one that I didn't really notice that it was happening because it kind of happened gradually, maybe over a few months on the carnivore diet. But I have zero cognition issues, zero
Wow.
balance issues. I have zero ticks anymore. I have no issues
Wow.
whatsoever. I feel like my brain is exceeded beyond 100% in function.
That's amazing, and that's a testament to the fact that you're getting the nutrients that your body needs to heal.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what's crazy? So they put me on Vyvanse and Adderall
Mm.
because that was, oh, this is a new thing, and concussions and head injuries and this sort of thing to help to, revive your focus and all this sort of thing so I could actually do my engineering work, right?
Yeah.
And it did, I mean, it did pep me up, but the longer I took it, I was like, man, this stuff cannot be good for me, right? So I read
Right.
the sheet that they're supposed to give you from the doctor, or the pharmacist. It's like a huge like poster of
Right.
all this information. It's insane, like ridiculous. Why would you have it in that format? So as I'm reading through it, I'm like, I'm surprised that I am still alive taking Adderall.
Yeah.
So yeah, they had to physically take the prescription to the pharmacist, and I had to go in and to an appointment every time I needed a
Right.
prescription, every single month, because it
Right.
was considered a class 2 narcotic.
Yeah, it's a
I'm like,
controlled substance.
what? This is crazy. I had no idea that, and I was always looked at like I was some kind of a criminal or,
Right.
and then I found out, oh, well, you could sell these things, and like it's popular with the college kids. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So
Yeah.
after I read that paper, I'm like, I'm weaning myself off of this. And I did. I weaned myself off of it and I seemed to do okay with it. Obviously my cognition and my brain energy seemed to go down after that. But once I hit those ribeyes, baby, it
There you
was all
go.
over then.
Who needs Adderall? Just eat
Right.
ribeyes and you're good.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. Well, it completely makes sense. I mean, your brain is cholesterol, right? And you
Yes.
want to get that animal fat, you want to get that in there, and it goes to your brain and heals you. Oh, that's amazing. You
Yeah.
have so many great results from this dietary change.
Yeah, and I started for something that was totally a vanity thing,
Just the
like
vanity and but that's awesome. I mean, that happens to so many people though, because we all have our why. And then we end up finding out, oh, wait a minute, I'm getting cured from all these other things that I didn't even think about.
exactly.
Less junk, more
Yeah.
health. Thank you. Thank you for
Hey, cool.
subscribing. Let me get caught up on
Yeah,
some of these
anybody
comments.
watching from my channel, make sure you
Yeah,
go
and
to Lynn's
I'm gonna
channel
pull
and
your channel
subscribe.
up. Actually, let me do that right now while we're talking about it. Not that there's probably no one here that doesn't know you, but but this is Adam's channel, Carnivore Today. And he's got a whole bunch of videos and interviews. Oh, look, there's me.
There she is. Yep.
There I am. But you interview all sorts of people and lots of great interviews here. And so check him out and subscribe if you have not already.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate that.
I put the link to your channel and then all your other social media in the description for the video.
Okay,
So
cool.
anybody who wants to go check you out can do that.
Awesome.
Okay. I don't want to keep you too long because I know that you have had a long day, but let me just kind of go through these comments here. Um, let's see. So it has organ meats with bacon.
There you go.
Hi,
How you
very
doing? Less junk,
nice.
more health. Nice to see you.
Yep, I love that name.
Yep.
Desiccated liver. Yeah, yeah. Okay,
There
let's
you go.
see. Let me just make sure. I don't want
Yeah,
to make
that
sure
the
I'm not.
liver pills that I started taking, these guys,
And yeah,
um, yeah, these things made my hair start to curl, which has always been thin and straight. Yeah, my hair's starting
incredible.
to curl and it's actually growing in a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
So
Now we did talk about the organ meats, and the histamine issues. You want to share just what you experienced and how you contacted the company and what they told you?
yeah, for sure. So the name of this company is Ancestral Supplements. I'm not an affiliate with them or anything like that.
Yeah.
I do believe that this product is a good product. It's not super cheap, but it's really not really that expensive either for what you get, especially if you don't like to eat liver. So I was having histamine issues at the time, and I didn't really understand that. So I was taking these supplements at the same time that I was having the histamine issues, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. So I emailed Ancestral Supplements, and I said, "Hey, I'm getting sick. I don't know exactly what it might be, blah, blah, blah." And they came back with this response that was like a mile long, like well thought out response, something that I totally did not expect from customer service. And they were 100% professional, 100% knowledgeable about their product and what it might be for me. They suggested, I believe it's called titration,
Right.
where,
So the
yeah,
normal dose, daily dose is what, 6 capsules?
six capsules. Yeah.
Mhm.
Two, 3 times a day.
Okay.
And yeah, so that's what I was attempting to do. And I was had an upset stomach. Wasn't sure if that was it or not. So they basically said, so some people that, to boil it down, some people that are so nutrient deficient in their body, once they start taking something that is nutrient dense, can have their body can almost reject it, like it doesn't know what to do with it. So
Mhm.
you may have get upset stomach and things like that. So they suggested, maybe take one pill a day over the period of 4 or 5 days. And then if you do okay with that, then up it to 2 pills and so on and so forth. And I
Okay.
followed that regimen and yeah, it worked perfectly. So I didn't have any issues.
Excellent.
Yeah. Yeah. So
So are you up to 6 pills a day now?
I am. Yep.
And no issues?
No issues
I love
whatsoever.
it. That's a fantastic company that they were, and I know you forwarded me that email, and I was so incredibly impressed with what they
Yep.
said. So,
I
yeah,
haven't been
big.
able to connect with them yet for an interview, but oh man, that I would love to pick their brain. Uh,
Oh, yeah, I would too, because that was a fantastic response and so thorough, and yeah, really, really impressed. So, yeah, big endorsement for that company for sure. And,
Absolutely.
yeah. So, okay, I don't think we have any more questions. So, yeah, I wanted you to be able to get to bed because are you 2 or 3 hours ahead of me? I'm in Washington State. Are you in Central Time or East Coast?
East Coast, it's
East.
9:21.
Yeah, so you need
Yep.
to go to bed. You've had a long day.
I've got so many emails to answer and
Oh my
comments
goodness.
and messages and yeah,
Well,
yeah.
I
Like I
wanted.
said, if, for people watching now, I literally pulled up in the drive, came inside, I put a ribeye in the Dreo Chefmaker. I went back outside, unloaded the car, got everything put up, came in, got the steak out of the Dreo, put it on the cutting board, ate it, and then literally last second
Yeah,
started the stream. So,
like couple minutes before the hour. Yes, and so for those who just have joined in and didn't hear the beginning, you were with Carrie on a trip to go interview Dr. Barry
yep,
for the documentary. So, awesome. Well, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, coming on after all of that travel. And I so appreciate it. It's really the first opportunity that I've had to hear your story and be able to dig in a little bit to your background. And you've done that with me, but turnaround is fair play, right?
right, absolutely. Hopefully,
So
somebody will get something from this and maybe inspire somebody to just eat meat. Yeah, it heals.
exactly, exactly. And so if anybody wants to reach out to you, I know you do have an Instagram.
Hmm.
And again, I put it in the description. And so you're very welcome. And I'm so glad
You're
that you're
welcome,
here. So
Angel.
glad all of you are here and really
Appreciate you.
appreciate. Yeah. So, all right. Well, we're going to make this a wrap. And I hope everyone
Awesome.
has an absolutely wonderful evening.
Take care, everybody.
All
Much
right.
love.
Much love.